Hello, I'm Kayla, a 36-year-old woman. The past few months have been really tough for me, and I'm having to relearn a lot of things. My husband Tom caused a lot of the trouble I'm in, but a kind person stepped in and helped me avoid even more pain. First, let me tell you about the people in my story. The first person is my sister, Maya. She's 6 years younger than me and very pretty. Growing up, we didn't get along because I was a nerd and she was popular. She always picked on me and seemed jealous for some reason. My mom tried to help us get along, but it didn't really work. When I went to college, we didn't talk much. But after I graduated and she was a teenager, we started talking again. Our relationship got a little better, but we never got really close. That was the best we could do, and I was okay with that. Next, let me tell you about my ex-husband Tom. We met at work and got along really well. We dated for about 3 years before getting married. We worked hard and bought our first house together. I earned more money, so the mortgage and deed were in my name. After 2 years of marriage, Tom asked me about having children. Honey, I was wondering about something, and I need you to think about this with an open mind. All right, what is it? I've been thinking that we've been together for a while now, and maybe we could start a family of our own. Tom, you know how I feel about that. I know, but we have the money for it, and it would be really cute to have little versions of us running around, don't you think? Yeah, but kids are a lot of work and responsibility. We're the most hardworking and responsible people we know. Come on, give it some thought, okay? I promise I'll help take care of them. Just keep that in mind, okay? Even though I wasn't keen on having kids, I gave in because Tom kept bringing it up. First, we had a son, and 3 years later, we had a daughter. Initially, Tom was very helpful, but that quickly changed. Suddenly, I was responsible for everything at home, including the kids. After our first child, Tom insisted I stop working because he had gotten a promotion and was earning more than me. I tried to resist, but eventually, I decided it wasn't worth the fight and accepted my new role. To avoid getting bored at home, I took up a new hobby, hosting dinners. I often invited my mom and sister, who lived nearby, and my mother-in-law, Megan, whenever she was in town. Eventually, I started to feel comfortable in my new life. I got to spend a lot of time with my family, and that made me happy. Tom and I were doing okay. I had gone through some trauma after giving birth to our second child, where I almost died, which affected our relationship. I didn't think anything else was wrong, but oh, how wrong I was. As I was cleaning my room, I found a pair of panties that definitely weren't mine. My heart sank as I stared at them, wondering if I wasn't enough for my husband. I had been feeling different lately, but I had just had our second child. It had been over a year since then, and I was still recovering. I had been going to therapy, making slow progress. But it didn't seem enough because Tom was cheating on me. Once the shock wore off, I was filled with anger and betrayal. I needed to know who my husband was cheating on me with and why. First, I sent Tom a picture of the underwear and asked him whose they were. Then, I checked his laptop. I logged into his social media accounts and went through his chats. At first, I didn't see any unknown women, which confused me more. I looked through his messages but found nothing. In my desperation, I went through every chat, even though I knew it was foolish because everyone in his contacts was someone. I couldn't believe that anyone in my life could hurt me that much. Then I realized that my sister's contact ID was everywhere I looked. At first, I didn't think much of it because why would my sister and husband talking be suspicious? But when I checked their chats, I felt sick to my stomach. They were full of pictures and videos of them in bed, messages about how much they love each other, and plans for Tom to leave me. I couldn't believe my own sister would do something so awful. Our relationship had never been perfect, but this was a whole new level of betrayal. First, I threw up because I was so disgusted. Then, I tried calling Tom, but he didn't answer. So I called my sister. Maya, hey, what's up? Don't hey, what's up me? Seriously, what's wrong with you? I don't know about mine, but I do know that I found a pair of your panties in my bedroom. Have you been sleeping with Tom? Yeah, for a while now. Why, Kayla? Seriously, you thought it was okay to sleep with my husband because you thought I was boring. And being my sister didn't even stop you. Look, I thought I was helping you out. I was keeping Tom busy so you could focus on the kids. Are you serious? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Look, we didn't mean for it to go this far, okay? I only did it because he kept hitting on me. And he's a nice guy, Kayla. But he was my husband. Why would you help tear our family apart? I just want what's best for Tom, okay? If I'm the best for him, then so be it. You're disgusting. I hung up, unable to believe her nerve. I just lay in bed and cried. I never thought my life would come to this. Eventually, my youngest woke up crying, so I tended to her. I felt empty as I went through the motions of the day. I couldn't let my kids know something was wrong. They didn't need that worry. I picked up my older child from school, made dinner, and when they asked where their dad was, I lied and said he was working late. At some point, my anger turned into worry. It was almost 11 o'clock at night, and Tom still wasn't home. I tried calling him multiple times, but he didn't answer. I even tried calling my sister to see if he was there, but she didn't pick up either. Exhausted from the day, I went to bed, hoping it was all just a bad dream. The next morning, I woke up feeling like something was wrong. I looked around and realized Tom's things were gone from the room. I checked the cupboards and drawers, and most of his stuff was gone from the house too. He had left while I was asleep, without saying a word. I couldn't believe it. He just left me without even trying to talk. I didn't know what to do. All I could think about was taking care of my kids first. Then, I'd figure out everything else. I woke up, got the kids ready, dropped off the oldest at school, and then took the youngest to my mom's place. She could tell something was off because I was distant. All I could think about was how I'd managed to raise 2 kids alone. Whenever I came back to reality, I remember I had to tell my mom about my sister and husband. Eventually, she couldn't wait any longer and asked what was wrong. Okay, I've had enough of your silence. What's going on? I don't know how to say this. Why don't you start from the beginning? Well, I found out that Tom has been cheating on me. What? How do you know? I found another woman's underwear in our room. When I asked Tom about it, he didn't answer and then left. He left? What do you mean? When I woke up this morning, all his things were gone. Gone? You didn't try to stop him? I didn't even realize when he came back. I fell asleep around midnight, and when I woke up, all his stuff was gone. Oh my God, my poor girl, I'm so sorry this happened. Yeah, it gets worse. Oh no, what happened? Do you know who Tom cheated on you with? You mean you know who he cheated with? Yeah, I snooped through his things to find out. I wouldn't have tolerated this under normal circumstances, but this is different. So, who is it? Maya. Excuse me? What? Are you serious? Yeah, my husband has been cheating on me with my own sister. I called her to ask about it, and she was so casual about it. She said they were in love, and she believed she was the best for him, so she was going to keep being with him. Oh my God, what has Maya done? I don't even know how I'm going to survive. I have 2 kids to raise and I need to find a job too. Look, why don't you just get some rest while I try to process this? I'll be here to help you, okay? Yeah, okay, thanks Mom. I had become numb to everything that had happened, so telling my mom wasn't as hard as I thought. I ended up sleeping while my mom took care of my youngest. When I woke up, I heard my baby crying and my mom yelling. I rushed out and saw my mom on the phone looking angry. She hung up and seemed surprised to see me. She apologized for the noise but didn't say more. I knew she had been giving Maya a piece of her mind. Over the next few days, Mom stayed with us. It was easier having one person move and then 3. Maya kept trying to contact our mom, but she asked me to block Maya. It was comforting to have someone understand my feelings when I felt so alone. I found out through mutual friends that Tom and Maya got married. They reached out to me, concerned and confused. I had to explain everything, which was humiliating, but they were supportive. They all blocked Tom and Maya and refused to associate with them. But I found out they got married the day after Tom left us. It hurt to know, but I shouldn't have expected anything different from them. When I told my mom, she was furious. You should know, my mom is usually calm, so seeing her so angry with my sister was surprising. It was great to have her financial support. She wasn't obligated to help, but she did her best for us. She even helped me get job interviews because I wanted to contribute now that Tom wasn't there to stop me. Taking care of the kids was manageable, but when they asked about Tom, I had to hold back tears. Still, we got through it. A week later, I got a letter from Tom. I didn't want anything to do with it. I figured it was some apology, but I was done with him. A week was too long to try to fix things, especially after he ran away from his family. So I did the next best thing I could think of. I burned the letter. But afterward, I couldn't help but be curious about what it said. Sometimes I wished I had read it before burning it, but then I reminded myself that nothing he could have said would change how I felt about him and what he did. The next day, my mom and I took the kids to the fair. We had a blast, and it was nice to be in a lively place after everything. I finally got to have fun and laugh, which felt great after such a tough time. That night, my mom and I relaxed with a bottle of wine, and I told her about the letter. So something came in the mail for me last night. Oh, what was it? It was a letter from Tom. What? What did it say? I don't know. What do you mean? You opened it, right? No, I didn't want to deal with anything he had to say, so I burned it. You burned it? Kayla, what if they were official divorce papers? The envelope didn't look legal at all. I'm sure it wasn't that. Well, if you're sure. What do you think was in it? I don't know. Maybe a weak apology or a request for his stuff back. I wouldn't be surprised. But how are you feeling about all of this now? Well, today was a good day. It's tough, especially when the kids keep asking where their dad is. What do I even tell them? It's slowly getting better, but only a little. As long as it's improving. I'm always here for you, and just so you know, I'm planning to cut ties with your sister. Everything I have will go to you and the kids. Oh, Mom, that means a lot, but are you sure? Maya is still your daughter. I know you and Maya had your differences, but what she did is unforgivable. I raised both of you better than this, and Maya clearly didn't care. So she's no longer my daughter. I would have been upset if Mom changed her mind easily, but I knew Maya was still her child. I couldn't imagine how hard it must have been for Mom to make that decision, because I could never do that to my kids. It made me even more grateful to have someone so supportive. Another 3 days passed, and I heard a knock on the door. It was strange because I wasn't expecting anyone, and besides my mom, who was at work, no one ever visited. I opened the door cautiously and saw 2 men in black suits. I only opened the door a little and asked who they were. They said they were lawyers and had something for me. They handed me a note and then a check. It was made out to me, and it was for $750,000. My jaw dropped when I saw the amount. I tried to tell them there must be a mistake, but they said there wasn't and urged me to read the note. The note began with, "Thank you for saving me." As I read on, I realized the money was from my mother-in-law, Megan. She explained that she had visited us 3 days ago, but no one was home. She called Tom, who tried to make it seem like he couldn't get in, but I had changed the locks after he left. Megan sensed something was wrong with Tom's behavior and pressed him until he confessed everything. She was disgusted by his actions. Megan felt sorry for what I had gone through and decided to leave all her inheritance to me and her grandkids. She thanked me for preventing her from making a mistake and for not trusting her son with her assets. That's what the check was for. The lawyers then told me that Megan had been terminally ill and had passed away just the day before. She wanted me to have the money right after her death to ensure her daughter-in-law and grandkids were well taken care of. Tears filled my eyes at Megan's kindness and loss. She was truly remarkable, always standing up for what was right. It was one of the reasons Tom had always been afraid of her. Yet I found her comforting. She stayed true to her word and supported me until her last breath. A few days later, Tom called. I already knew what he was going to say, but I decided to hear him out. What did you do? What do you mean? You know exactly what I mean, Tom. You'll have to be more specific. What are you talking about? Why weren't you home that day? I specifically asked you to be. I sent you a letter asking you to pretend everything was normal while my mom visited. Oh, is that what the letter said? You didn't read it. No, I burned it. You betrayed me. My mother was going to help me with the inheritance, but you took it all because you're selfish. That's ironic coming from you. You abandoned your family and only cared about contacting me when it involved your inheritance. Love can't be forced. I did what was best for me, and your mother did what was best for us. Don't ever try to contact me or the kids again. Goodbye. After that, things moved quickly. I filed for divorce, and I was granted full custody of the kids. Tom tried to fight for the inheritance, but Megan had made it clear that I was the one to receive it, so he didn't succeed. Tom and Maya tried to pressure me into giving them some of the money, but I stood my ground and refused. Life has become easier since we got the money. I put a portion aside for my kids' college and invested the rest. My mom could retire, and I started working. My kids have come to terms with their dad not coming back, and when they're older, I'll tell them everything. I'm still hurting, but I know things can only get better from here. Did you really think you could just move your parents into our home without asking me, Ryan? I asked, my voice shaking with a mix of anger and disbelief. Ryan, my husband of 6 years, looked up from his laptop with a smirk I had grown to hate. Oh, Amelia, don't be so dramatic. It's just for a while. Besides, it's not like you have a say in this. His words felt like a slap in the face. The house, a lovely 2-story in a quiet suburb, wasn't just any house. It was the home my grandparents had left me, the place where I wanted to raise our son Lucas, away from the negativity of Ryan's family. You do remember that this house is in my name, right? I shot back, my hands clenched into fists at my sides. Ryan's smug look faded, replaced by a hint of uncertainty. Our 2-year-old son Lucas wandered into the room, oblivious to the tension. I forced a smile for him. As he reached up to me with his chubby hands, I picked him up and kissed his forehead, trying to calm down. I'm not okay with this, Ryan. Your parents have never respected me or our space. Why now? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Ryan shrugged, his indifference making me even more frustrated. Their family, Amelia. You wouldn't understand. Family. The word echoed in my mind mockingly. My own family, who ran a small but beloved coffee shop in town, had always been my safe haven. They were nothing like Ryan's controlling, overbearing parents. The doorbell rang, interrupting our standoff. Through the peephole, I saw them, Ryan's parents, suitcases in tow, ready to invade our life. My heart sank. Fine, Ryan, let them in. But this isn't over, I said angrily, handing Lucas to him before opening the door. Amelia, darling, cooed Ryan's mother as she swept past me without a second glance. His father followed, a stern man who'd barely acknowledged me since our wedding day. As they made themselves comfortable in my living room, I felt a familiar sense of intrusion. This was just the beginning, I realized. But as I watched them, something inside me changed. I was done being the compliant daughter-in-law, bending to their whims. I retreated to the kitchen, my mind racing. This was my home, my sanctuary, and I was ready to fight for it. The following days became a blur of unwanted changes. Ryan's mother, Elaine, had a knack for making herself overly present, which felt suffocating. She rearranged my kitchen, criticized my parenting, and acted as if our home belonged to her. Lucas shouldn't be eating that, Amelia. It's not healthy, Elaine scolded one morning as I prepared Lucas's breakfast. I held back a sharp reply, feeling her judgment like a slap. He's fine, Elaine. It's just cereal. She sighed, shaking her head. In our house, we believe in a proper diet. You really should learn. Her remarks felt like tiny jabs, wearing down my patience. Ryan, as usual, was no help, lost in his work and unaware of the growing tension. One evening, as I was putting Lucas to bed, Elaine barged into his room. He's still not sleeping through the night. You must be doing something wrong. Her words felt like a slap, making me doubt my abilities as a mother. I'm doing my best, I snapped back, unable to hide my frustration. Elaine's eyes narrowed. Clearly, your best isn't good enough. Maybe if you had a real job and some structure in your life. Anger surged through me. This is my house, Elaine. You're a guest here, remember that. Her laugh was cold. Oh dear, Ryan never mentioned how delusional you are. This is his house too, and as his mother, I have every right to be here. The next day, I reached my limit. I found Elaine in Lucas's room, going through his drawers. What do you think you're doing? I demanded, my voice shaking with anger. I'm just organizing. This room is a mess, she replied, not even bothering to look at me. That's it. I want you out of my house now, I exclaimed, feeling a mix of fury and desperation. Elaine turned to face me, her expression one of mock surprise. Your house? Oh, sweetie, you're just the wife. This is Ryan's house too, and he wants us here. I stormed out of the room, my mind swirling with thoughts, Ryan's betrayal, Elaine's intrusion, and how they ignored my feelings. It was too much. I was tired of being pushed around, tired of my home being invaded by people who didn't respect me. That night, as I lay in bed, a plan started forming in my mind. I was going to take back control of my life, my home, and my son's future. Ryan and his parents had crossed a line, and it was time for them to realize I wouldn't be their doormat anymore. The fight was just beginning, and I was ready. A few days later, Ryan dropped a bombshell during an already tense dinner. My parents need to stay with us longer. Their house is undergoing renovations, he said casually, as if it were no big deal. I felt my anger rise. Longer? Ryan, we never talked about them staying here in the first place. He shrugged, avoiding my eyes. It's just for a few more weeks. What's the problem? The problem? Your mother treats me like I don't belong in my own home. I snapped, frustration boiling over. Elaine, overhearing us, chimed in with her usual condescending tone. Amelia, you're overreacting. We're family. You should be more understanding. That night, sleep escaped me. Their words kept replaying in my mind, fueling a growing determination. I wasn't going to let them control me anymore. It was time to take a stand. The next morning, I called my brother Alex, who had always been there for me. They're taking over my life, Alex. I can't handle it anymore. I confessed, holding back tears. Alex's voice was strong and supportive. Amelia, you have to stand up for yourself. Don't let them push you around. It's your house, your rules. His words gave me the courage I needed. I decided to talk to Ryan, but this time, I would be prepared. I gathered evidence of Elaine's bossy behavior, the rearranged kitchen, the disrupted routines, her constant rude comments. The day of confrontation came. I waited until Elaine and Ryan were in the living room. We need to talk. Now, I declared, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside me. Ryan looked up, taken aback by my tone. What's going on, Amelia? It's about your parents, Ryan. Their constant interference, their disrespect for my boundaries. It stops today, I declared, holding up my list of complaints. Elaine scoffed. This is ridiculous. We're just trying to be helpful. Helpful? By undermining me all the time, by treating me like I don't matter in my own home. I shot back, my frustration boiling over. Ryan squirmed. Amelia, they're my parents. We can't just ask them to leave. No, Ryan. They're guests in my home, and they've stayed too long. Either they go, or I do with Lucas, I stated firmly, my determination clear. The room fell silent, my words hanging in the air. I saw Ryan's realization, but it was Elaine who spoke first. You wouldn't dare, she spat, her mask slipping. Try me. I won't regret standing up for myself, I retorted, my voice filled with determination. That night, Ryan's parents packed their bags. As they left, Elaine shot me a hateful look. You'll regret this, Amelia, she warned. But as the door closed behind them, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. It was the first step in taking back control of my life, and I was prepared for whatever challenges lay ahead. The days after Elaine and her husband left were strangely quiet. Ryan's attitude towards me became cold and distant, our interactions minimal and strained. Yet, I found comfort in the peace of my home and the joyful laughter of Lucas. One evening, as Lucas played with his toys, Ryan announced, I have to go on a business trip. I'll be gone for a few weeks. His tone was indifferent, as if our troubled relationship had taken a backseat to his work. Fine, I replied sharply, barely able to hide my relief at the thought of his absence. After Ryan left, the atmosphere in the house shifted, feeling liberating. I started undoing the changes Elaine had made, each adjustment feeling like a small victory. But the real turning point came when I stumbled upon a series of emails on Ryan's laptop, left carelessly open. They revealed an affair, a betrayal that cut deeper than any of his mother's snide remarks. Anger, hurt, and a sense of betrayal swirled inside me. I knew it was time for Ryan to face the consequences. I began planning my next moves meticulously, each step aimed at making Ryan and his family answer for their deceit and manipulation. First, I secured my financial and legal position. I contacted a lawyer, explained my situation, and started the divorce proceedings. Then I focused on the house, a symbol of my grandparents' legacy and my independence. I reached out to a real estate agent. I want to sell the house quickly and quietly, I told her. She was surprised but could sense the urgency in my voice. Are you sure about this, Amelia? Selling the house is a big step, she warned. I've never been more certain, I replied, fueled by a mix of betrayal and newfound determination. The house went on the market and offers came in quickly. The idea of Ryan returning to find his control gone brought a bittersweet satisfaction. In the midst of all this, I leaned on my family for support. My parents were shocked by Ryan's actions and stood by me and Lucas. We're here for you, no matter what, my father assured me. Watching Lucas play, unaffected by the chaos, I silently promised to shield his happiness. Ryan's return was inevitable, but I was no longer the same person he left. Armed with truth and a plan, I was ready to confront him and take back my life. The day Ryan returned was heavy with tension. I had played out this moment in my head countless times, imagining every possible scenario. Yet my heart raced as I heard his key turn in the lock. "Amelia, I'm back," Ryan called out, his voice filling the now unfamiliar space. I stepped out from the kitchen, my stance firm. "Welcome home, Ryan. We need to talk." He glanced around, noticing the changes I'd made. "What's going on? The house looks different." I didn't falter. "I sold the house, Ryan. It's no longer ours." Disbelief washed over his face. "You did what? You can't just sell our house without telling me." "It's my house, Ryan. And after what I found out, I don't think you get a say anymore," I said, my voice steady but tinged with simmering anger. He scoffed, trying to regain control. "What are you talking about?" "The affair, Ryan. I know everything," I revealed, watching as his facade crumbled. His attempt to deny it was feeble and short-lived. "Amelia, it's not what you think. I think it's exactly what it looks like. You betrayed me, our family," I retorted, the hurt clear in my voice. Ryan's expression shifted from shock to anger. "You're overreacting. We can fix this." "There's no we anymore, Ryan. I filed for divorce," I declared, handing him the papers. The ensuing conversation was a blur of accusations and denials. But I stood my ground. The man I married was gone, replaced by a stranger driven by selfish desires. As he stormed out, vowing to contest the divorce, I felt a mix of freedom and apprehension. I had taken the first step toward a new life, but the fight was far from over. In the following weeks, our situation became public. Ryan's once imposing parents were now entangled in their son's mess. Their attempts to reach out were met with silence. I had cut ties with them, focusing solely on Lucas and finalizing the divorce. The day of the court hearing arrived. Ryan looked defeated, the consequences of his actions finally sinking in. As the judge granted the divorce and custody of Lucas to me, I felt a sense of justice. Ryan's plea for reconciliation after the hearing fell on deaf ears. "You made your choice, Ryan. Now you have to live with it," I said, turning away from him for the last time. News of our divorce and Ryan's affair spread, tarnishing his reputation and relationships. His once proud and judgmental parents found themselves shunned by those who had once respected them. Walking out of the courthouse holding Lucas's hand, I realized this wasn't just an end, but a new beginning, a chance for me and my son to start fresh, free from deceit and manipulation. The future was uncertain, but it was ours to shape. Life after the divorce felt like stepping out of a long, dark tunnel into the light. I had regained control not just of the house, now sold, but of my life. Lucas, unaware of the grown-up troubles, flourished in the love and stability I provided. My days were busy but fulfilling, focused on rebuilding our lives and running the coffee shop, my sanctuary. The shadow of Ryan and his parents lingered, casting a pall over my life. One day, as I was closing the shop, Ryan appeared, looking disheveled and desperate, a stark contrast to the composed man I had once known. "Amelia, please, I need to talk to you," he pleaded, his eyes searching mine for a glimmer of the compassion we once shared. I hesitated, torn by conflicting emotions. "What do you want, Ryan?" "It's about the alimony and child support," he began, his voice filled with embarrassment. "I can't afford it. I lost my job because of the scandal. And my parents? They're struggling too." His words hit me like a cold shock. "That's not my problem, Ryan. You made your choices and now you have to face the consequences." "But Amelia, I have nothing left. Please, for old time's sake," he begged, his voice breaking with despair. I felt a pang of pity, but it was quickly overtaken by the memory of his betrayal. "Old time's sake. Those times are gone, Ryan. You should have thought about the consequences before you cheated and lied." I turned to leave, but his next words stopped me in my tracks. "I'm sorry, Amelia. Truly, I am. I was a fool and I ruined everything. Please help me." For a moment, I glimpsed the man I once loved, vulnerable and regretful. But the pain he had caused was too deep, the betrayal too raw. "I'm sorry, Ryan, but I can't help you. You need to figure this out on your own," I said firmly, closing the chapter of our shared past for good. As I walked away, leaving Ryan standing alone, I felt a sense of closure. The journey had been painful, filled with betrayal and heartache, but it had led me to a place of strength and independence. Life moved on. Lucas grew, his laughter and curiosity bringing joy to our home. The coffee shop thrived, becoming a place of warmth and community. And as for me, I found contentment in simple pleasures. The aroma of fresh coffee, the sound of Lucas's giggles, and the support of loved ones. Rain and his parents became distant memories, their legacy a reminder of the consequences of betrayal. My journey taught me resilience and the importance of standing up for oneself. As I locked the shop that evening, I looked up at the sky, its hues signaling the end of another day. I smiled, holding Lucas's hand tightly. Our future was uncertain, but it was bright. We were moving forward, step by step, into a new chapter of our lives. I'm Harley. I'm 34 years old, and I'm a bold and self-reliant woman. Let me tell you about the crazy journey of my relationship with my husband Dominic. Get ready, because it's going to be a wild ride. Dominic and I had our ups and downs, like most couples. Even though I loved him a lot, there was one big problem. His mom, Charlotte. She was always critical of me. No matter what I did, she never seemed happy. Whenever we had family gatherings, Charlotte would make mean comments about my cooking. She acted like she was a fancy chef and I couldn't cook at all. She complained about the taste, how things looked, and say I wasn't as good as her. It felt like she was trying to prove that I wasn't good enough for her son. But it wasn't just about my cooking. Charlotte had a talent for making me feel small in other ways too. Once, at a dinner party, I proudly told everyone about a big promotion I got at work, hoping for a pat on the back. Instead, she just brushed it off like it was no big deal, saying it wasn't as good as what her friends' kids had achieved. It made me feel invisible, like she didn't care about my success. And our wedding? It should have been a happy day, but Charlotte made it her mission to criticize everything, from where we had it to what colors we used. Nothing was good enough for her. She'd whisper her disapproval to anyone who'd listen, ruining what should have been the best day of my life. You'd think my husband, Dominic, would stand up for me, right? Well, not quite. Bless him, he had this weird blind spot when it came to his mom. He couldn't see how she treated me, made me feel small, and acted like I didn't matter. It hurt a lot. And his dad, Caleb, was the only one who seemed to get it and call her out. But I wish Dominic would be the one to stand up for me. After all, I was his wife, his partner, and I deserved his support no matter what. But every time, I felt let down. Dominic stayed quiet, letting his mom's words hurt me over and over again. It was like being cut by tiny knives, again and again. I wanted his love, but I also wanted him to stick up for me. It wasn't just about defending me from Charlotte's mean comments. It was about fighting for our relationship and showing me I was important. I hoped he'd see through his mom's tricks and put us first. But it seemed like he was stuck in the family drama, unable to break free. As time went on, I started to feel more and more frustrated. I felt like he didn't care about me or what I needed. It was like we were stuck in a bad cycle that we couldn't get out of. The beginning of the end came when Dominic said he had to go on yet another business trip, this time to Tampa for a week. Another trip? Seriously, Dominic? It's a really important meeting that couldn't wait, babe, he said. But you just got back from another one. Can't someone else do it? And why Tampa all of a sudden? I asked, surprised. He had only just come back from a different business trip, so this sudden one made me wonder. I tried to tell him how I felt, hoping he'd understand, but his answers didn't help much. But I let it go. I'll bake, even though I'm not sure about this. You know, sometimes things just come up unexpectedly in business, I said reluctantly. Yeah, it's just business, okay. Even though I had my doubts, I didn't push it too much, and off he went on this business trip. The first 3 days of Dominic's trip went by, and my suspicions got even stronger. I decided to FaceTime him, like I usually did when he was away, but he kept choosing audio calls instead. Hey, can we do a video chat tonight? Sorry, the hotel Wi-Fi isn't great, so audio calls are better for now. But everything's fine, don't worry. Wi-Fi problems, it seemed too convenient, didn't it? Babe, don't worry about it, Dominic reassured me. But I couldn't help but worry. Sometimes I'd hear a woman's voice in the background, and it made my doubts grow stronger, making me even more uneasy. I felt like Dominic was hiding something, like there was more to this trip than he was letting on. The trust between us was starting to crack, leaving me with a sense of uncertainty that hung over our relationship. Despite my doubts, I stayed quiet and accepted his excuses for those 3 days. It was hard to believe. 3 whole days had gone by, and I still hadn't seen Dominic. Not only did he avoid video calls, but our audio calls kept getting shorter and shorter. I had to find out what was really going on. On the 4th day, I tried to FaceTime Dominic again, hoping to get some answers. But when the call connected, instead of seeing Dominic, it was Charlotte who answered. She was sitting in a beach chair with sunglasses on and a tan. I was shocked. "Charlotte, what are you doing there? Where's Dominic?" She smirked, looking pleased with herself. "Oh, Harley dear, you didn't think he was on a business trip, did you? Honestly, I can't say he needed to go to Tampa to keep this from you, but I suppose that just shows how pushy you can be." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Dominic had lied to me, and his mother was there, enjoying herself while I was left in the dark. Anger started to bubble up inside me as I realized they had been deceiving me. "So you're telling me you both planned this secret vacation without me?" "Well, yes," she admitted. "Why?" I demanded. "Because I wanted to visit my hometown, and I wanted to do it with my son. Is that so wrong?" Charlotte replied. "Of course not. But why keep it a secret? Why exclude me?" I pressed. "Because this trip is just for me and my son," she explained. "But I'm his wife. I should have been included. This could have been a chance for us to work out whatever issues you have with me, and I could really use a vacation too," I argued. "Well, tough luck. You didn't get one." "Sorry, not sorry," Charlotte retorted. "I'm going to set aside your childish behavior for a moment to say this. Even if you wanted this special trip without me, it would have been okay. I'm an adult. You can tell me if I'm not invited to something. I can handle it. But here's the thing. We kept it a secret from you because we simply didn't want you to know. It's as simple as that. We didn't care if you wanted to come or if you would have been okay with us going alone. We just didn't want you to know. But your constant calls were annoying, so I decided to just tell you," Charlotte explained. "Are you serious, Charlotte? What's gotten into you? Has all that sun fried your brain?" I shot back. "How dare you insult me like that? You're taking this too far. You're acting like such a drama queen," she retorted. "I'm not being dramatic. I have every right to be upset, especially after years of putting up with your nonsense," I responded. Charlotte shrugged, pretending to be innocent. "Oh, Harley dear. Sometimes it's better not to know everything your husband does. It was just a little secret getaway, just for us, something special. You wouldn't understand the bond we have." A rush of emotions flooded through me, betrayal, anger, and sadness. It was obvious they had planned this together, leaving me out and feeling completely deceived. As I realized the extent of their deceit, I couldn't help but wonder what else they had lied about. How long had these secret trips been happening? Why were they so insistent on keeping me in the dark, and what else were they hiding from me? The trust I had in Dominic was falling apart, and I snapped out of my thoughts when I heard his voice getting closer. "Mom, why did you answer the phone? What's going on?" Dominic's voice sounded tense. "It's time Holly knew the truth." "It's been 4 days," his mother replied firmly. Dominic snatched the phone from his mother, his face going pale as he realized the mess he was in. He stared at the screen, knowing he was caught in a lie. "Why did you lie about the business trip, Dominic? And the Wi-Fi was fine the past few days, wasn't it?" I demanded. "I didn't want you to be mad at me," he admitted. "Well, of course I'm mad. I thought you were avoiding me. Is it strange that you want to spend time with your mom?" "Yeah, a bit. But Dominic, you haven't been standing up for me, and I've been feeling distant from you already. If you wanted mom-son time, you could have just said so. Even if I was upset about not being invited, it would have been better than feeling like this," I argued. Anger surged through me as Dominic tried to explain himself. It was clear he hadn't thought about how his actions would affect me. "Dominic, I wouldn't have been upset if you had just been honest with me. It's not about the trip itself. It's about you keeping it a secret. That's what bothers me. I mean, I thought you were cheating on me, for crying out loud." "What? No way," Dominic exclaimed. "Yeah, well, when I heard women's voices in the background of your calls, I started to wonder," I said bitterly. "I have a special bond with my mom. Sometimes we just need to get away," Dominic tried to explain. "In Tampa of all places, you both hate Tampa. And what about Gertrude? Weren't we supposed to visit her?" I questioned. "So this secret was just between you two? What about your dad? Did he know?" I pressed. "I can't talk right now. I hope this trip was worth it, because when you come back, I'm not sure you'll still have a wife, I said firmly. Holly, please wait, Dominic pleaded. But I couldn't wait. I ended the call and ignored all of Dominic's attempts to reach me. I paced back and forth in my room, trying to make sense of it all. Why would he hide something so simple from me? One thing about me, when you lie about small things, I start to wonder what big things you're hiding. It was strange to think of Dominic spending time with his mom on this secret trip. Honestly, I would have preferred if he was cheating on me. I was frustrated with my distant and secretive husband and his difficult mother. I knew what I had to do. I needed to talk to someone who would understand. I picked up my phone and called my father-in-law, hoping he could offer some clarity and support. Hey, it's Holly. I need to talk to you about something important. I poured my heart out, sharing every detail of the deception that had tainted my marriage. Anger, sadness, and betrayal swirled inside me as I recounted Dominic's lies. From his fake business trip to his desperate attempts to keep me in the dark. His betrayal cut deep. But what hurt even more was Charlotte's involvement. I described how she seemed to enjoy keeping me ignorant, relishing the power she had over me. The weight of their deceit felt suffocating, and as I spoke, I could sense Caleb's shock and hurt in his responses. Caleb's voice turned serious, matching the gravity of my words. What? I had no idea about any of this. I'm so sorry you had to find out like this. As soon as I found out, I called you. Charlotte told me she was going to Tampa to visit her mother and repair their relationship. I believed her. Well, Dominic just confessed that they weren't planning to visit Gertrude at all. And Gertrude has no clue about any visit, I revealed. Caleb's shock and hurt were evident over the phone. It was becoming apparent that Charlotte had been weaving a web of lies, manipulating everyone involved. I can't believe Charlotte would do something like this. It's one thing to have disagreements, but to deceive her own family. It's unforgivable, Caleb said, his voice heavy with disappointment. They both need to learn a lesson, I agreed. That's a brilliant idea. I was seething with anger, ready to do anything to teach Dominic and Charlotte a lesson. After our call ended with words of encouragement and excitement for what was to come, I waited eagerly to hear back from Caleb about his mother-in-law's reaction. A couple of hours passed and Caleb delivered the good news. As Caleb described his conversation with Gertrude, the seriousness of the situation became even clearer. His voice shook with a mixture of anger and sadness. I told her everything, Harley. She was furious, devastated even. She couldn't believe her own daughter would deceive everyone like this, Caleb explained. She deserves to know the truth, Caleb. Charlotte has been treating us horribly for too long, I replied. Gertrude has decided to take action, Harley. She's planning to teach Charlotte a lesson she won't forget. She's fed up with Charlotte's behavior and wants to show her what real rudeness looks like. I hope you don't mind me asking, but what exactly is the issue between Charlotte and Gertrude? Well, Harley, I'm sure you'll find it ironic, but Charlotte always claimed her mother was very rude and cruel to her. They've had a rocky relationship since Charlotte ran away at 16, being in and out of touch for years. It's very toxic, but after talking to Gertrude for the past hour, I'm starting to think Charlotte was the problem all along. It's crazy. I've been married to Shaw for all these years, and you and Dom have only been married for 3. Yet you've managed to uncover more family secrets in this short time. I should have been more curious. I should have stood up more. How could you have known, Caleb? Don't be hard on yourself, please. You were just being a good husband, trusting what your wife told you. And you stood up more than your son. That means something. Thanks, Harley, for everything. I'm glad I could help, even though it's unfortunate it came to this, I remarked. Yeah, I guess so, but I'm looking forward to Gertrude showing them how tough she can be, Caleb responded. The next day arrived and the fallout from our revelations began. Dominic, unable to grasp the seriousness of the situation, called me in frustration, his words filled with irritation. Holly, what did you do? What do you mean? Don't play dumb with me. Gertrude is here, and nobody else knows we're in town except you. She said she came because she heard we were here. I'm glad she knows the truth. Everyone deserves to know, after all your sneaking around. How could you do this, Harley? Dominic's voice was filled with frustration. In the background, I heard some commotion, likely from 2 female voices. One sounded much older, which I assumed was Gertrude unleashing her anger. Dominic, maybe it's time Charlotte faces the consequences of her actions. She needs to understand what it feels like to be deceived, I replied firmly. Suddenly, I heard Charlotte's voice. You ungrateful little rat. How dare you expose us like this? As I listened, I couldn't help but chuckle softly, though there was bitterness in my laughter. Before I could respond, I heard another voice, stern and authoritative. Don't you dare speak to that young lady like that. I've had enough of your insolence. You've been telling everyone how rude and nasty I was to you, huh? When all I did was care for you and help you out of trouble. You were such a problem child, lying about everything and being nasty to everyone. And I see that lifestyle has followed you into adulthood. We haven't seen or talked to each other since you left, and this is how you want to act. Do you think I'm rude and nasty? Just wait, I'll show you rude and nasty. I heard things breaking like a glass or a vase, and it made me a bit fearful as the shouting continued. I couldn't imagine how scared Dominic must have been, but I realized that this was the consequence of his actions. He was an adult, responsible for his choices. I was done making excuses for them. They were getting what they deserved, and I was glad to hear it unfold. For the next few days, Dominic kept asking for my forgiveness because his grandmother was driving him crazy. Each time he called, I reminded him that this was his fault. Meanwhile, Charlotte and Gertrude continued arguing back and forth. I was surprised they didn't get kicked out of the hotel they were staying in. As their 7-day trip came to an end, Dominic revealed something even more shocking. Holly, please, you need to talk to Gertrude. I tried talking to Dad, but he's still upset with my mom and me, Dominic pleaded. Slow down, what's going on? You two were supposed to be coming back, right? I asked, trying to keep up. I thought you learned your lesson, I added. Well, Gertrude doesn't think so. She's planning to board the plane with us, Dominic explained. What? She wants to follow us home and make sure my mom starts acting like a respectable adult and not some crazed teenager, he continued. Wow, that's unexpected. Maybe next time you'll stand up for what's right and not go along with your mother's schemes. See you when you get here, I replied. Harley, I regret everything. Haven't you punished us enough? Please talk to Gertrude and tell her she doesn't have to come with us. Dominic pleaded desperately. I don't think so, sweetie. Who am I to argue with that woman? She's terrifying. I responded to Dominic's plea. How do you think we feel? He asked. Honestly, Dom, I don't care how you feel. You've been lying to me for God knows how long, and you never stood up for me when your mom treated me poorly. You're getting your karma. Don't be mad at me now. Have a safe flight. Well, as safe a flight as you came with these two ladies being together, I retorted firmly. As I hung up the phone, a sense of satisfaction washed over me. Finally, the tables had turned and I had stood up against the toxicity that had plagued our lives for too long. Gertrude, the unexpected ally, had unleashed her own brand of justice, and I couldn't help but feel a glimmer of excitement. Now I await their return, expecting stories from Gertrude, as I'm sure she continued to make their lives difficult on that flight. Revenge never tasted so sweet. Hey, I'm Kenneth, but everyone calls me Ken. I just turned 33, and let me tell you, I've got quite a story to share. Before today's events, I didn't really believe in karma or anything spiritual. I thought it was all just in people's heads. But now, I've had a change of heart. I totally believe that what goes around comes around. And it's all because of my mean mother-in-law and her family. Well, except for my amazing wife, she's the exception. Despite growing up around all that negativity, she's still a wonderful person. Now let me tell you about the crazy stuff that happened on a sunny Wednesday morning in my house. Hey, could you come down here real quick? What's up, honey? I need to ask you something, and please don't say no. My wife gave me those adorable puppy dog eyes, and honestly, who could resist that? She explained how her mom, Georgina, was coming to town and needed a place to stay. I knew what she was getting at, and I quickly said no. But babe, it's just for the weekend. Can't you handle having a sweet old lady around for a couple of days? Let me tell you, that lady was anything but sweet. She was like pure evil, I kid you not. Dealing with her was like living in a horror movie. I often wonder how my wife turned out so kind despite having such a nightmare for a mother. As I started explaining why I couldn't handle having Georgina around and suggested she stay in a hotel, Kimberly started looking really sad. And like I said, I can't resist her sad face. She's got me wrapped around her finger. So reluctantly, I agreed. Kimberly was over the moon, thanking me like crazy. Since you're being so good about this, I'll make sure she behaves too. Don't worry. Hopefully, you won't even have to see each other. It'll all be smooth sailing, I promise. Well, that promise didn't last long because what happened next was totally unexpected. It was Friday afternoon, and Georgina, my mother-in-law, was about to arrive. We prepared the guest room with everything she might need and some stuff she likes, hoping it would keep her from causing drama. Around noon, the doorbell rang. Kimberly, busy in the kitchen, called out, "I think she's here, Kenny. Can you get the door, please?" I prepared myself and opened the door. Standing there was a woman with a not-so-friendly expression. It wasn't a smile. It looked more like a scowl. My mother-in-law, I greeted her. "Hello, Kenneth. Hi there. How was your trip? Are you doing okay?" I welcomed her inside, taking her stuff and doing all the host stuff without being too pushy. But I could feel my irritation building as she started her never-ending complaints. "Wow, Kenneth, the patio looks amazing. Did you do this?" "Yeah, it looks absolutely lovely. I'll need to snap some photos soon. Oh, could you take those bags upstairs to my room, dear? And could you also make me a coffee? I'd like a caramel macchiato with whipped cream, please." Did she think this was a Starbucks? If you've ever seen A Streetcar Named Desire, you might get an idea of what Georgina was like. She acted just like Blanche, all high and mighty with a touch of fake innocence. She strutted around like she was a gift to the world. I can't stand that kind of arrogance, especially when she's being rude. Just then, Kimberly came out of the kitchen to greet her mom. "You look stunning." "Oh, come on, Kimberly, do I? You're just saying that." "Well, you do look great. It's this new diet I'm on. You should try it. You could use it, sweetheart. But not this weekend. This weekend is for relaxing. That's why I ordered my caramel macchiato. Speaking of which, Kenneth, when's my coffee going to be ready? I'm thirsty. I need something to drink right now. I might faint." See what I have to deal with. After enjoying a delicious lunch prepared by my wonderful wife, I had to quickly Google how to make a caramel macchiato. Georgina made it her mission to point out every little flaw in the meal, followed by a quick, "It's fine. Don't worry too much" to soften the blow. But she made sure to remind us to be extra careful next time to avoid making those silly mistakes, as she called them. She seemed to enjoy talking down to us, and while I could handle it, I could see it was getting to Kimberly. I mean, how could she not be bothered? That was her mom, after all, and Kimberly didn't have a mean bone in her body. I couldn't say the same for myself, though. I'm the type who likes to get revenge when I can. Later in the afternoon, Georgina went on and on about how much she loved the house. Well, she had a unique way of expressing her love for it. Sure, my time in Bora Bora was nice, but Zanzibar was even better. The scenery was stunning and the people were lovely. This vacation won't be as fancy as those, but it's still a vacation. Maybe it'll humble me a bit, since I've been to so many fancy places. It'll be a nice change of pace, I guess. I'll be honest, I zoned out of the conversation many times, and whenever I checked back in, it was still going on. Georgina had a way of making things drag on longer than they needed to. Anyway, we spent the afternoon chatting, mostly Kimberly and Georgina. I was just there, like a decoration, making sure Kimberly was comfortable. Every now and then, I'd chime in to make it seem like I was paying attention. Around 4 p.m. that evening, cooking started to get a bit weird. "You know, Kimberly, I've been complimenting your house ever since I got here, and I have to say, it's stunning." "Thanks, Mom. We've been working hard to make it nice, and Kenny and I spent a lot of time getting ready for your visit. It's so good that I can't keep this beauty to myself." "What do you mean, Mom? What are you saying?" "Well, you know, on my trips to places like Cancun, Fiji, or India, I always bring along some friends or family. I don't like traveling alone, especially as I'm getting older. It's become a bit of a tradition for me to have companions like Ursula or Justine." "Oh, that sounds nice. How are they? It's been a while since we talked." "Funny you ask, because they're actually on their way here now. You can catch up with them yourself." Kimberly nearly chokes on her coffee at this unexpected news. I would have done a spit take too if I had anything in my mouth, because I was shocked at what she just said. But I kept my cool and managed to say, Kim, let's go to the kitchen, now." We headed to the kitchen to talk about this bombshell. "Please tell me she's joking, babe." "I don't think she's joking, but you only told me she was coming. We only prepped for one person." "I'm just as surprised as you are, babe. I didn't know anything until now, just like you. I started pacing in the kitchen. So what do we do? I guess we'll have to tell her we only prepped for one person, and maybe we can put the girls up in a hotel. They can come over during the day to hang out with Mom. I sighed in frustration. This was also inconvenient, wasn't it? Note the sarcasm. As much as I cared about Ursula and Justine, my aunt-in-law and sister-in-law, I wasn't keen on entertaining them all weekend. They were a bit like their mother, not as bad, but having them all around would be chaotic. We argued about it until Georgina herself showed up in the kitchen. What's the problem? I think it's a nice idea to have other family members join us for the weekend. She started pouting, and strangely, it had the same effect on Kimberly as Kimberly's pouting had on me. When she wanted to, Georgina could get her way with those puppy dog eyes. I guess Kimberly inherited that skill from her mom. Oh no, Mom, please don't be upset. It was a nice thought, but we just can't handle this sudden change, especially on such short notice. Kenny and I were thinking of putting Ursula and Justine up in a nearby hotel, and they can come over during the day. Angeline is also coming with them. So you want 4 extra people in the house? I'm sorry, Georgina, but that's not going to work. Oh, Kenny dear, don't be such a stick in the mud. Jolene has to come. She hasn't been part of the tradition, and she really wants to join in. Plus, she's your younger sister-in-law. We have to make room for her. And honestly, you're not even considered part of our real family, so it makes sense for you to leave and for the girls to stay. It's just for a couple of days after all. Mom, how can you say that? Kenny is our real family. Is he though? You're putting him above your actual sisters. That's not what I meant, Mom. The main issue is space. We're worried there won't be enough room for everyone. I'm glad you brought that up because I've come up with a solution that will please everyone. Okay, let's hear it. Okay, so here's my idea. Ursula and I can share the bed in the guest room since it's big enough, and Jolene can sleep in Kimberly's bed. There was silence. I was completely lost. I looked at my wife, and she seemed just as confused. Finally, I asked, so you want 3 people to sleep in one bed? That's uncomfortable and inappropriate, don't you think? Yeah, Mom, we're adults now. It's not appropriate for me, my husband, and my sister to share a bed. Aha, I knew you'd say that, which is why I think it's best if Kenneth doesn't stay here during this time. Again, silence. At that moment, I think she finally lost it. So you want me to leave my own house? Kenny dear, don't call me that. Kenneth, don't talk to me like that. Kimberly, are you going to let him speak to me like that? Look, I don't appreciate you coming into my house and making last-minute demands. It's not fair. If you wanted a girls' trip, that would have been fine if you planned it in advance. Why didn't you just tell us what you wanted? And saying I'm not your real family was rude. I didn't think you'd get so upset now. Honestly, you're acting childish, and don't you think, Kim? I don't know what to say, Mom. I don't think it's fair. Oh, you dumb people and your sensitivity. I didn't do this on purpose. It must have just slipped my mind. I'm sure you understand. I didn't quite understand, but when I looked at my wife, she was silently pleading with me. I caved in, feeling frustrated, and said, Georgina, better communication would have been appreciated. As I said earlier, I wouldn't have minded if you ladies wanted a girls' trip for the weekend. I could have gone on a trip with the guys or worked at the orphanage. But springing this on us isn't fair. We're adults, even if you see us as your kids. You're a guest in our home, and you need to respect that. I stayed calm and politely pointed out her mistake. She scoffed, walked around, and even laughed at times, seemingly trying to avoid the embarrassment of being confronted by her sister-in-law. Nevertheless, I stood my ground. You want to have a girls' trip and have everyone here for the weekend. Fine, you want me out of the house. That's fine too, but I'll be back after the weekend. With that, I kissed my wife on the cheek and headed to our room. Kimberly tried to reason with her mother, telling her that what she did wasn't okay and that she seriously upset me. But Georgina just laughed it off, treating me like I was overreacting. I packed some clothes in a duffel bag and left. I booked a hotel room online and headed there, but not before stopping by the orphanage where I regularly volunteered. As I mentioned before, the orphanage is called Open Arms, and I love working there. But dealing with unruly and disobedient toddlers, children, and teenagers is no easy task. As I spent the evening playing and helping out the children, I couldn't shake off the thought of how to get back at Georgina. I'm not evil, or at least I don't think I am. But I do believe in teaching people a lesson when they deserve it. I guess that's why I'm good at my job. I had a good connection with the kids, showing them both love and discipline so they wouldn't take advantage of me. We got along well, to the point where some of them could tell something was bothering me. "Ken, is everything okay?" one of them asked. "Yeah, everything's fine," I said, apologizing for losing my cool. I explained the situation to him in simple terms. He was just a kid, after all. But surprisingly, he understood and even sympathized with me. "With all due respect, Ken, your mother-in-law is crazy." "Tell me about it," I replied. "You've got to get back at her somehow, just to teach her a lesson, right?" "But how?" We thought about it for a while, but I couldn't come up with anything. Then Maverick said something that changed everything. "We could help." "What do you mean?" "We could help. If you take a handful of us kids and bring us to your house, we could ruin her weekend." I thought about it, and then it clicked. Maverick, true to his name, was an evil genius. It was a perfect plan. The kids would get a fun weekend away, and I could get back at my mother-in-law for disrespecting me. We made plans like two evil geniuses plotting world domination and waited until the next day to put our revenge into action. The next day, Saturday, went like this. Kimberly answered the doorbell and was surprised to see Maverick and a few other kids. "Why, hello, Kimberly, Kenny." "Oh, Maverick, hello, how are you?" Then she noticed the other kids and looked confused. "What's going on, babe?" "Oh, nothing. I thought I'd bring the kids along to join in Georgina's lovely vacation," I said as I walked into the room, followed by 5 kids aged 6 to 10. They were known as the rowdiest bunch, but they could be sweet when they wanted to be. It was when they felt disrespected that they'd let loose. I promised them ice cream if they caused chaos. "Hello, Kenneth, how are you?" "Oh, who are these lovely children?" "Good morning, Georgina. I hope you're all well. I see the rest of the gang made it. Hey, Kenneth, how are you?" "I'm well, thank you." "Who are these kids?" "Oh, these children. They're from the orphanage." "Yes, we can see that. But why are they here?" "Good question. Maverick, would you like to answer that?" "Well, Ken told us about the lovely vacation you were having in his home. And we've never been on a vacation, so he invited us over to join in." The in-laws, who were sipping mimosas and eating croissants in the living area, gasped in horror and shared looks of disbelief. Some of the kids started grabbing food from the table: bacon, pancakes, orange juice, causing chaos. Georgina stood up and pulled me aside. "What's the meaning of this?" "Just as Maverick said, I wanted the kids to have their own little vacation. I'm sure you wouldn't mind. How can you bring all these kids into the house? This is too much, and someone named Maverick is bound to cause trouble. This was supposed to be a relaxing weekend for me and the girls, you know this." "Oh well, I'm sure you wouldn't mind. It's only for a couple of days after all." "Listen, I know you're upset." "No, you listen here, Georgina. I'm tired of you acting like you own the place. If you want to stay here for a vacation, that's fine, but the kids are staying too. They deserve to enjoy just as much as you do. So maybe next time you'll remember it's not nice to inconvenience others." And with that, I didn't give her a chance to respond. I walked back into the living room to see the chaos unfold. "The little girl, don't you dare touch that. That's an expensive designer bag. Stop it. You little troublemakers are causing chaos. Is this what vacations are normally like? Because if so, count me out." The ladies were being harassed by the unruly children, causing chaos. You might wonder how Kimberly felt. She was in the corner snickering. She found it funny too. You might also wonder how I felt watching my house get torn apart. It was worth it to see the looks on my in-laws' faces. I didn't mind cleaning up. Maverick promised they'd help. I just wanted to witness the chaos as the prim older ladies dealt with the chaotic children. Well, everything seems in order. I'll be on my way. I'll pick up the kids tomorrow or Monday. Cheerio. And with that, I left, laughing in my hotel room. I called Kimberly and told her the kids weren't meant to bother her, just the snobby ladies. If she needed a break, she could stay with me. That day was one of the best of my life. Hey there, I'm Stacy, and I'm 37 years old. My husband, Eric, and I were throwing a party at our house to welcome back my brother-in-law, Uncle Isaac. He had just come home after spending 5 years in prison for a crime he didn't commit. Yep, you heard that right, prison. But before you jump to conclusions about him or our family, let me tell you, Isaac was innocent. He got caught up in something he had nothing to do with. It took 5 long years of legal battles to prove his innocence and set him free. So you can imagine how excited we all were to have him back with us. The party was buzzing, everyone having a great time. Isaac was in the spotlight, catching up with everyone and sharing stories from his time in prison. He had a special bond with my daughter, Wendy, who used to be really close to him before all this mess happened. Laughter and lively chats echoed through the house. The smell of yummy food filled the air as we all enjoyed a feast fit for royalty. It was a special time for our family, filled with happiness and togetherness, which made my heart feel warm. Once the party ended and everyone left, we were still buzzing with excitement. We were thankful to see Isaac back with us, alive, happy, and healthy after his unfair time in prison. Life went back to normal, and it felt like the drama in our family had calmed down, at least for a little while. But sadly, that happy feeling didn't last long. A couple of days after the party, I was sitting in the living room, lost in a book, when Wendy burst in looking scared and angry. I quickly put my book down and went to her side, worried about what had happened. "Wendy, what's the matter? You look really scared. Tell me what's going on," I said, my voice filled with worry. Tears were rolling down Wendy's cheeks as she struggled to catch her breath. "Mom, I found something. A camera. Hidden in one of my plants." My heart raced and I felt a surge of fear. A hidden camera in my daughter's room. It made my blood boil. But I had to stay calm for Wendy. We hurried to her room, my mind racing with questions. And there it was, tucked away among the leaves of her favorite plant. A tiny camera, invading her privacy. How long had it been there? I felt a mix of disgust, fear, and anger rising inside me. I wasted no time and called Eric right away, my voice shaky with a mix of feelings as I shared the shocking news. "Eric, you won't believe what I just found out. There's a hidden camera in Wendy's room. We need to act fast." Eric sounded both concerned and furious. "I'm coming over, Stacy. We're not going to let this slide. Our daughter deserves her privacy, and whoever did this will pay for it." While we waited for Eric, Wendy clung to me, her tears soaking my shirt. She blamed herself for not noticing the camera sooner, but I assured her it wasn't her fault. I promised to support her through this unsettling situation. When Eric arrived, his eyes reflected our emotions. Anger barely contained beneath a calm surface. We carefully examined the camera, searching for any clues that could lead us to the person responsible. It was a betrayal of trust that hurt deeply, and we were determined to uncover the truth. The invasion of our safe space shattered the feeling of security we had worked so hard to build for our family. We needed to take action quickly, not only to protect our daughter, but also to restore our peace of mind. If there was one hidden camera in Wendy's room, who knew how many more might be lurking elsewhere in our home? "Don't worry, Wendy. We won't stop until we find out who did this," I reassured her. "Thanks, Mom. Can I please nap in the guest room?" "I don't feel comfortable in mine right now, and I'm really tired," Wendy asked. "Of course, sweetheart. You do what you need to feel safe." "I'm so sorry this happened," I replied gently. Wendy headed to the guest room, likely wanting some time alone after her privacy had been violated. I couldn't shake off the feeling of malice. Who could do something like this? We decided to review the footage, gather any evidence we could find, and involve the authorities if necessary. Nobody messes with our family like this. Though I was shaken, I found comfort in knowing Eric and I were on the same page. We sat together in the quiet of our living room, the seriousness of the situation weighing heavily on us. Our minds raced, trying to figure out who could have planted the camera in Wendy's room. As we talked it through, one name kept coming up: Isaac. I broached the subject carefully, trying to keep my voice steady. The timing is hard to ignore. The camera was likely planted during the family gathering, and who had the opportunity? Isaac. "Stacy, you can't seriously think Isaac would do something like this." "Yes, he's had his problems, but he's not a creep. He's my brother, for crying out loud," Eric protested. I understood Eric's reaction completely. Family bonds are strong, and suspecting a relative of such a violation feels almost unthinkable. But I couldn't ignore the clues that seemed to point towards Isaac's involvement during the family gathering. Gathering my thoughts, I spoke softly but firmly. "Eric, I know it's tough to consider, but we have to face reality. Isaac spent a lot of time with Wendy at the gathering, which suggests he may have had some interest in her. Plus, he just got out of prison. People change and their experiences can influence their actions. Our priority is to protect our daughter, even if it means questioning those closest to us. Eric looked weighed down by the situation, torn between loyalty and the evidence. Eventually he nodded slowly, his voice filled with a mix of resignation and discomfort. I don't want to believe it, Stacy, but you're right. The timing and circumstances are hard to ignore. We have to find out the truth for Wendy's sake. The idea of confronting Isaac about the betrayal weighed heavily on our minds, but we knew it was necessary. The safety of our home and our daughter depended on it. As we braced ourselves for the tough conversation ahead, we promised to approach it with care and empathy. Finding the truth was crucial not just for our own peace, but to protect Wendy from any further harm. Days passed, and Eric struggled with conflicting feelings, loyalty to his brother versus the nagging suspicion in the back of his mind. The tension strained our relationship with Isaac and cast a shadow over our family as we grappled with uncertainty. A plan started to take shape in my mind. Risky, but it felt necessary to catch the culprit. I shared my idea with Eric, suggesting that hosting another family gathering could be the key to uncovering the truth. Think about it, Eric. Whoever planted that camera might try to retrieve it during another family event. This gathering, meant for bringing us together, could give us the chance to catch them in the act. Eric hesitated, still torn between his loyalty to his brother and the need to uncover the truth. But as I explained the urgency of our situation, he eventually agreed that we had to explore every option before getting the authorities involved. It was a tough choice, but necessary to protect our family and regain our sense of safety. I called Tina, Isaac's wife, to propose the idea of another family gathering. Hey Tina, we were thinking of having another family get-together. Are you and Isaac free to join us? Tina's response was surprisingly enthusiastic. She eagerly accepted, expressing her excitement for another gathering. It struck me as a bit odd, since she was usually more reserved, but I brushed it off, thinking she was just happy for family time. With the plans in motion, Eric and I focused on getting everything ready. Our home buzzed with anticipation and tension. We checked every corner for signs of intrusion, aiming to create a sense of normalcy while secretly preparing to catch the culprit. The stakes were high as the day of the gathering drew near, and our family's future hung in the balance. I felt a mix of nerves and determination. We were stepping into the unknown, but we were prepared to face whatever came our way to keep our daughter safe and our home secure. When the day arrived, our home filled with familiar faces once more. Excitement buzzed in the air, but underneath tension simmered. Uncle Isaac, ever charming, greeted everyone warmly, but Eric and I couldn't shake our suspicions. They loomed over us, casting a shadow on the festivities. To ensure Wendy's safety, we made the tough call to keep her away from the gathering, arranging a sleepover with a friend without revealing our concerns. With her gone, our focus sharpened, and we kept a watchful eye on anyone near her room. As the party started, laughter and chatter masked our true intentions. Eric and I played the part of hosts while secretly watching for any suspicious behavior. Our detective skills were in full swing. As the night went on, the music and dancing created a lively atmosphere, masking our true intentions. But amidst the celebration, I couldn't ignore Tina's strange behavior. She kept excusing herself, rushing off to the bathroom with an unusual urgency. My instincts kicked in, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. Driven by curiosity, I decided to approach her. When Tina headed towards the bathroom once more, I followed quietly, my heart racing. But instead of going inside, she turned and entered Wendy's room. Panic surged through me. I knew I had to confront her, to uncover the truth behind her actions. Stepping forward, I called out her name, my voice tinged with both accusation and concern. Tina, what are you doing in Wendy's room? Startled, Tina spun around, her eyes darting around the room as if searching for an escape. But there was no escaping the truth. The tension between us thickened, heavy with unspoken accusations. I asked you a question, Tina. What are you doing in my daughter's room? Tina's facade cracked, tears welling in her eyes. Her voice shook as she said, I was just looking for Wendy. I was surprised she wasn't with us for the party. You were going through her drawers, I pointed out, my tone unwavering. Tina looked down, realizing her hands were still in the drawer she'd been searching. I can explain. Save it. The person we least expected, the one we had staunchly defended, had betrayed our trust. The room swirled with a whirlwind of disbelief and disappointment. I motioned for Eric to join me, and he rushed over, assuming we had caught Isaac in Wendy's room. But his expression turned to shock when he saw it was Tina. You planted that camera, didn't you? Why, Tina? Why would you do something like this? Eric demanded, his voice laced with anger and pain. Without hesitation, Eric called Isaac over to Wendy's room, his tone firm and commanding. Isaac, sensing the urgency, quickly joined us, confusion written all over his face. As Isaac stepped into the room, his gaze fell on Tina, tears streaming down her cheeks. Before anyone could say another word, Eric quietly closed the door, shielding the rest of the party from the unfolding drama. Taking a deep breath, I steadied my voice as I began to explain everything. I recounted the shocking discovery of the camera in Wendy's room, the invasion of their privacy that had shattered their trust. My words hung heavy in the air, the truth weighing down the room. We planned this gathering, Isaac, to catch whoever planted the camera. And to be honest, we initially suspected you. Bro, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have doubted you, especially after everything with prison. Eric interjected, his voice filled with regret. But it was mostly me who accused you, Isaac. I'm truly sorry. After finding Tina here, I realized you weren't involved. Isaac's brows furrowed, confusion clouding his expression as he looked between Stacy, Eric, and Tina. He turned to Tina, seeking answers. Tina, why were you in Wendy's room? What's going on? We caught Tina going through Wendy's things. She's the one who planted the camera. Now that everyone's here, Tina, you need to explain yourself. Why would you do something like this? Tina's eyes darted around the room, searching for support, but Isaac's shock mirrored the confusion in the room. He couldn't understand why Tina would do something so invasive, especially to her own family. Okay, you got me. Yes, I planted the camera in Wendy's room. I was just coming to take it back. We already know that. We caught you. We want to know why, Eric pressed. Because I'm jealous, okay, Tina blurted out. Tina's confession hung heavy in the air, exposing her jealousy for all to see. She admitted, with a mix of shame and frustration, that her actions were driven by envy towards Wendy. She had noticed Isaac and Wendy talking a lot during the last family gathering, and it sparked jealousy within her. She questioned what made Wendy so special, what drew Isaac's attention and affection towards her. Isaac felt the need to defend himself, his voice tinged with defensiveness and genuine concern. Tina, you know I care about Wendy, but not in a weird way. Being her uncle is important to me. I was just checking on her, making sure she was okay. It was out of love and family concern, nothing strange. But why were you always praising Wendy? It made me wonder what was so great about her. Tina countered, her jealousy still evident. So you're upset because I'm proud of being an uncle. Tina, is there something wrong with being proud of my niece? I have every right to support and appreciate Wendy. It's not about playing favorites, it's just genuine love for family. I didn't expect you to react like this. Trying to navigate the emotions in the room, I turned to Tina. What were you hoping to find by planting the camera? What did you think you'd uncover? I just wanted to see how Wendy lives, you know? Maybe if I understood her better and acted like her, I could get the same attention from you, Isaac. I wanted to feel valued like she is. You're acting crazy, Tina. Jealous of a teenager. That's messed up, Isaac snapped, his frustration evident. After an awkward silence that could rival a library, Eric decided to end the party. Good call, I agreed. The last thing we need is to keep partying after discovering Tina's true colors. The resident creep of the year. Once the relatives were gone, it was just Eric and me left to deal with the fallout of Tina's actions. And let me tell you, it wasn't pretty. I unleashed a verbal storm on Tina, making a sailor blush. I mean, who does that? Who plants a camera in their niece's room? Sick, that's who. Isaac looked lost, disappointment written all over his face. I guess he couldn't believe what his wife had done. Can't say I blame him. I'd be equally stunned if my partner turned out to be a lunatic. As the dust settled and our emotions ran dry, Eric and I found ourselves sitting in our once cheerful home, now tainted by one family member's sinister acts. The next day, when Wendy returned, it fell to me to break the news to expose the twisted truth. Tears filled Wendy's eyes as I recounted the violation of her privacy. The poor girl, innocent and unsuspecting, couldn't believe someone in our own family could do something so awful. Mom, I never imagined this could happen, especially from Tina. Seriously. Wendy's disbelief mirrored my own. I shook my head, struggling to comprehend it myself. I know it's hard to believe. Tina's really crossed a line. With Wendy in my arms, her tears staining my shoulder, I made her a promise. We were going to fight back. Pressing charges was just the beginning. Tina needed a reality check, and we were ready to give it to her. Her tearful eyes met mine, seeking reassurance. But Mom, how is Uncle Isaac doing? I sighed, the weight of our shattered family hanging heavily in the air. Honestly, he's struggling. It's hard for him to celebrate his freedom knowing he's married to someone who's acted so terribly. So, are they getting a divorce? I don't know, sweetheart. I hate what she's done to us. Me too. But right now, our priority is your safety. We're getting a restraining order against Tina so she won't come near you again. We're pressing charges and getting a restraining order against Tina, the one with the camera, and the bond between Isaac and our family, it's strained, shattered by this betrayal. There's an awkward silence between us, a reminder of how far jealousy can go, but we're determined to rebuild and find comfort in those who truly care. The road ahead might be tough, but we're ready to face it. Our family's love will help us through. The noise of Alex's voice cut through the clinking of dishes like a sharp knife. Alara, bring me some tea now. I paused, my hand in soapy water. Wait, I'm doing the dishes. What? His voice was full of disbelief and impatience. Stop that and bring me the tea quickly. Can't you follow simple orders? But, I started, but he cut me off. What a useless wife you are. Make me some sweet coffee, please. It was Mrs. Whitmore, my mother-in-law, speaking from the living room. She was eating a slice of cake she'd taken from the fridge, her eyes glinting with spite. I sighed, looking at the pile of dishes. There are so many. Leave them for later. Just do what we say, useless wife. Alex's words hit like a whip, each one stinging. I was Alara, a 28-year-old working mother feeling trapped in a life that felt more like a prison than a home. I got married at 23, hoping for love and companionship. Instead, I found myself stuck with Alex and his demanding mother. Our 4-year-old son was my only source of joy in a bleak world. We lived in Alex's parents' house, a decision I had to accept under the pretense of taking care of Mrs. Whitmore after my father-in-law passed away. At first, I felt sorry for her, thinking she was grieving, but soon I realized I was just a pawn in her cruel game of domestic control. No matter how much I cooked, cleaned, or worked, it was never enough. My efforts were always met with scorn. My meals were either left untouched or harshly criticized. The stir-fry is so half-hearted, Mrs. Whitmore would sneer. Cook it properly from scratch. I'm busy and can only make simple things, I'd say, trying to sound calm. That's why I hate backtalk from a daughter-in-law, she'd snap. Cook from scratch. Why don't you cook then? You're a good cook, right? I dared to ask once, immediately regretting it. Why would I do housework when you're here? Her response was cold and dismissive. Are you out of your mind? Their cruelty got worse over time. They stopped talking to me altogether, as if I were a ghost in my own home. My presence, once just unappreciated, now felt completely invisible. 5 years passed in this suffocating atmosphere. Alex and I turned 35 and 33, respectively. Our son grew up, but the heavy atmosphere in the house didn't change. My mother-in-law, now 63, seemed to enjoy my unhappiness. One evening, as I walked home from work, I felt a heavy realization sink in. My life seemed meaningless. To them, I was like a shadow, unnoticed and ignored. The only person who seemed to see me was my son. The idea of losing even that little bit of recognition was too much to bear. When I got home, I started cooking right away, trying to push away the sadness. I made mapo tofu, fried chicken, and a stir-fry with bell peppers and pork, hoping to make our dinner feel normal. Bring me the mayo, Alex suddenly commanded, breaking his long silence. Sure, here you are, I replied, handing him the mayonnaise. His first words to me in ages weren't thankful or conversational, just another command. It was too much, the final straw. I couldn't tolerate it anymore. The evening got worse when Mrs. Whitmore said, "Clean the toilet." What? Right now, I couldn't believe it. Yes, right now, she insisted, her voice full of bitterness. I couldn't hold back my frustration. Don't say such things while we're eating. It's disgusting, just like your heart. She hissed, and our argument quickly escalated, with Alex joining in, demanding. I apologized to his mother, but stood my ground for the first time in years. The conflict reached its peak, and I made a decision. I needed to get out of this toxic situation, for my son's sake as well as my own. I went to my room determined. I downloaded divorce papers, filled them out, and handed them to Alex. He was shocked, but I felt nothing but determination. I'm filing these, I said firmly. As I faced my husband's surprised expression, I realized I had finally stepped out of the shadows. It was time to take control of my life. In the days after I declared my intention to divorce, there were a lot of angry looks and hurtful words, but in the middle of it all, I felt a strange sense of freedom. One evening, as I served dinner, Mrs. Whitmore looked at the meal with disgust. You call this food? Even a child cooks better. I held back my frustration, focusing on my son's smile. Eat up, sweetheart. I made your favorite tonight. Alex jumped in, sarcastic. Oh, now suddenly you're the perfect mother, huh? What a joke. I could feel anger rising, but I stayed calm. I'm just trying to make a nice dinner for our son. Mrs. Whitmore scoffed. Don't act like you're better than us. You're just a nuisance in this house. The tension at the table was thick. Alex's insults kept coming. So, Alara, have you even thought about how you'll manage after the divorce? You can barely handle running a household, let alone your own life. I looked him in the eye. I've been supporting this family for years. I'm not worried about taking care of myself and our son. His smirk faded slightly, a hint of unease crossing his face. Mrs. Whitmore quickly stepped in. Don't be ridiculous. You rely on us more than we rely on you. The conversation shifted to money, a topic they usually avoided. You know, without my paycheck, this household would struggle. I said more to myself than to them. Mrs. Whitmore scoffed. We'll manage. We don't need your charity. But Alex's silence said it all. He knew the truth. Without my income, they would be in trouble. In the following days, their behavior became more unpredictable. Mrs. Whitmore would switch between trying to persuade me to stay and hurling insults when I resisted. Alex, meanwhile, seemed lost, his confident demeanor fading as the reality of his financial reliance on me sank in. One afternoon, I overheard a conversation between them that sent shivers down my spine. Leaving her is not an option, Alex whispered angrily. We rely on her money. Mrs. Whitmore's response was chillingly calculated. Don't fret, I have a plan. We'll make her life so miserable she won't even think about leaving. Hearing their true intentions shocked me. They didn't care about me or our son. It was all about control and money. That night, lying in bed, a plan began to form. If they wanted a fight, they would get one. But not with arguments. I would hit them where it hurt most, their pride and their wallets. The next morning, I set my plan in motion. I contacted a lawyer, a sharp, no-nonsense woman. I want a divorce, and I want to ensure they don't get more than they deserve, I told her. She nodded firmly. We'll make sure of that. You've been the main provider, right? We'll use that. With each passing day, my determination only grew stronger. I started keeping records of everything. The insults, the financial tricks, even the smallest annoyances. It was time to make them face the music. They needed to see the consequences of their actions. As I gathered evidence, I felt a sense of strength. For the first time in years, I felt like I had control over my life. The shadows of disrespect were fading away, and in their place, a new beginning was emerging. As the divorce process started, the tension at home grew worse. But with each passing day, my fear faded, replaced by determination. One evening, Mrs. Whitmore tried a different approach. Alara dear, why don't we forget all this unpleasantness? You know we're family, she said, but her words were dripping with insincerity. I held her gaze steady. Family doesn't treat each other the way you've treated me. Alex, who had been silent, scoffed. Oh, now you're the victim. You're not as innocent as you act. I felt anger rising, but I stayed calm. I'm not pretending anything, Alex. I'm just not willing to be your punching bag anymore. The conversation shifted to money, as it often did. You think you can just take our son and go? How will you support him? Alex challenged. I smiled confidently. I've been supporting this family for years. I'll manage. Mrs. Whitmore's sneer twisted into her face. "You're nothing without us. You'll come begging to return." But their words didn't affect me anymore. I knew my value and the truth. The next day, I met with my lawyer again. She outlined the plan clearly. "We'll expose their financial dependence on you. It'll be crucial in the custody battle and dividing assets." I nodded, feeling validated. The law was backing me, and I was ready to stand up for myself. At home, the tension reached its peak. Mrs. Whitmore's attempts to undermine me became more desperate. "You think you're clever," she spat one evening, "but you're just abandoning your family." I looked her straight in the eye. "No, I'm finally standing up for myself." Alex joined in, his voice full of anger. "You'll regret this. You can't survive without me." But I wasn't afraid of his threats anymore. As days passed, I prepared for the court battle. I gathered financial documents, recorded their hurtful words, and collected evidence of their neglect. One afternoon, as I sorted through my papers, my son came to me. "Mom, are we going to be okay?" His voice was small and uncertain. I pulled him close, feeling a surge of protectiveness. "Yes, sweetheart, we're going to be just fine. We're leaving this place and starting a new happy life. Just you and me." His arms tightened around me, and in that moment, I knew I was doing the right thing. I was fighting for my son's future, not just for myself. The day of the court hearing approached, bringing a sense of impending freedom. I was ready to confront Alex and Mrs. Whitmore, to put an end to their control and abuse. I was ready to take back my life and give my son the peace and happiness he deserved. It was time for justice, and I was determined to see it through. The day of the court hearing arrived, a day I had been dreading yet eagerly awaiting. Sitting across from Alex and Mrs. Whitmore in the courtroom, I felt a surreal mix of emotions. This was the moment of change. The proceedings began formally. Alex's lawyer painted him as a devoted husband and father, unfairly accused. Mrs. Whitmore portrayed herself as a grieving mother-in-law, mistreated by an ungrateful daughter-in-law. But their act was transparent, their lies obvious. When it was my turn to speak, I spoke clearly, my voice steady. "I have been the only one working to support this family for years. My husband's unemployment and his mother's manipulation have caused constant strain." Alex interrupted, pretending to be hurt. "Alara, how can you say these things?" I turned to him, my gaze firm. "Support isn't just words, Alex. It's about actions, and your actions have been selfish and cruel." The judge listened as I presented my evidence. Financial documents, recordings of their verbal abuse, testimonies from neighbors who had witnessed their behavior. The truth was clear. As the evidence piled up, Alex's facade crumbled. Mrs. Whitmore's calm demeanor cracked, revealing her true nature. The courtroom fell silent, tension thick in the air. Then came the bombshell that sealed their fate. My lawyer presented evidence, photographs and documents proving Alex's infidelity and Mrs. Whitmore's affair with a neighbor, Mr. Harwood. The courtroom buzzed as the images were shown, revealing their deceit for all to see. Alex paled, his eyes wide with shock. Mrs. Whitmore's anger twisted her expression, her hands shaking. "You violated our privacy," she shrieked, her voice piercing. I met her gaze calmly. "No, I exposed the truth, a truth you both tried to hide for too long." The judge called for order, but the damage was done. Their credibility crumbled, their lies laid bare. As the hearing ended, the judge's decision was clear. I was granted full custody of our son, and assets were divided fairly. Alex and Mrs. Whitmore were left with nothing but their ruined reputations. Walking out of the courtroom, I felt like a burden had been lifted. The years of manipulation and abuse were finally behind me. I had stood up to them and won. But the best moment was when my son ran into my arms outside, his face beaming with relief. "We did it, Mom," he said happily. "Yes, we did," I replied, hugging him tightly. "We're free now. This is just the beginning for us." As we walked away together, I knew this victory wasn't just for me. It was for anyone who's ever felt small or powerless. It was for truth and fairness. It was the start of a new chapter, one filled with hope and a better future. The aftermath of the court ruling was swift and chaotic. News of Alex and Mrs. Whitmore's deceit spread quickly, staining their reputations in our small community. They could no longer hide behind their facade of respectability. In the days after the verdict, I focused on rebuilding my life with my son, but I couldn't ignore the satisfaction of knowing they were facing the consequences. One evening, while preparing dinner, I had an unexpected visitor. Mrs. Harwood, Mr. Harwood's wife, her eyes filled with tears. Alara, I heard everything. I can't believe what Sylvia, Mrs. Whitmore, did, she said, her voice trembling with pain. I invited her in, offering a cup of tea. As we sat at the kitchen table, she poured out her heartache. I trusted her as a neighbor, as a friend, and to think she was having an affair with my husband. I listened, offering comfort. It was clear Mrs. Whitmore's actions had caused more damage than she anticipated. The next day, I ran into Alex in town. He looked defeated, a shadow of his former self, his arrogance gone. I paused, facing him. What's left to say, Alex? He shifted uncomfortably, avoiding my gaze. I'm sorry for everything. I didn't realize how much I relied on you, on your strength. His apology, though belated, marked a shift in power. He had lost everything. His pride, his home, his family. And in that loss, he finally acknowledged his mistakes. But it was Mrs. Whitmore who faced the harshest consequences. Her affair with Mr. Harwood had not only tarnished her reputation, but also led to legal troubles. Mrs. Harwood had filed for divorce and was suing her for alienation of affection. I heard about Mrs. Whitmore's downfall through whispers and rumors from neighbors, painting a picture of a woman brought down by her own actions. She became an outcast, rejected by those she once called friends. One afternoon, I spotted her at the grocery store, her demeanor defeated as she hurried through the aisles. Our paths crossed, and our eyes met briefly. The resentment and defeat in her gaze were clear. You did this to me, she muttered as she passed by. I watched her go, feeling a mix of pity and vindication. No, Sylvia, you did this to yourself, I whispered to myself. The tables had turned, and the consequences of their choices were now unavoidable. Alex and Mrs. Whitmore were facing the consequences of their years of deceit and manipulation. As I saw them struggle, I understood that the greatest revenge was living well, free from their toxicity. Refocusing on my son and our new life, I realized this wasn't just about revenge. It was about freedom, breaking away from abuse and control. Looking ahead, I knew the best was yet to come. The new year was supposed to be a fresh start, but this time it brought a big surprise. The doorbell rang, breaking the quiet of my cozy home. I thought it might be a neighbor or a delivery person, so I opened the door casually, but I felt like my heart sank when I saw who was there. My sister Claire, who I hadn't wanted to see, and my ex-husband Ethan. Claire had her usual smug smile, looking almost proud next to Ethan. Seeing Ethan was like reopening an old wound. He looked arrogant and pretended to feel sorry. It had been 3 years since I'd seen them, and here they were, acting like nothing had happened. Why are you here? I asked, my voice trembling with shock. Claire laughed annoyingly. Oh, look at that, Ethan. She's speechless. What's wrong, Anna? Not happy to see your dear sister and loving ex-husband. Ethan leaned against the doorframe, glancing around the room. Yeah, Anna, we just thought we'd drop by, see how things are without us. I clenched my fists, trying hard not to slam the door on them. This isn't your place anymore, Ethan. And you, Claire, shouldn't be here either. But they just smirked, unfazed by my attempt to stand up to them. Then Ethan said something that felt like a punch in the gut. You know, Anna, I regret ever being with you. What a waste of my best years. Claire joined in, pretending to sympathize. Poor Anna, always falling short, even in marriage. Their mean words hurt, but before I could respond, another voice interrupted us. Who's there, Anna? It was my dad, George, who I wasn't expecting until later. Claire and Ethan looked surprised to see him, and their smirks disappeared as they shifted uncomfortably. Dad, you're home early, I said, feeling relieved. George looked at the scene with narrowed eyes. CLA, Ethan, what are you doing here? Their confidence vanished under George's stern gaze. There was a tense silence. Claire finally spoke up. We just wanted to wish Anna a happy new year. George was skeptical. Really? After all this time, you suddenly remember family on New Year's? His tone was cold, hinting at hidden anger and disappointment. Ethan tried to regain control. We also have some news, but maybe now's not the time. I knew their visit wasn't just about New Year's greetings. Their sudden arrival, smirks, and insults were all too familiar. A cycle of lies and manipulation. But I wasn't the same person they left behind. As they left awkwardly, promising to come back another time, I closed the door, feeling both relieved and anxious. Their return meant trouble, and this time, I had to be ready. After Claire and Ethan left, the house felt eerily quiet. My dad, George, sat opposite me, his face creased with worry. Anna, what was that about? Why are they back? I sighed, feeling the weight of old memories. I'm not sure, Dad, but with Claire and Ethan, there's always a motive. George nodded grimly. I remember how it all ended, how they hurt you. You owe them nothing, Anna. His support was comforting, but there was a part of the story he didn't fully grasp. The depth of Claire's manipulation. It dated back to our childhood, a time that should have been carefree but was overshadowed by Claire's selfishness. Dad, remember my 10th birthday? Grandma's porcelain doll. I asked, my voice tinged with sadness. George's face softened. Of course, you cherished that doll. I nodded, the memory vivid. Claire broke it on purpose, then blamed me. She cried to Mom, saying it was an accident caused by me. George looked surprised. I never knew that. Your mother always thought it was an accident. That was just the start, I said, feeling the pain of old memories. Claire always acted innocent, and I got blamed. She knew how to trick everyone around her. I saw regret in George's eyes, realizing what he hadn't seen before. I'm sorry, Anna. I should have seen it. It's not your fault, Dad said, his voice filled with regret. We were all fooled by Claire, I replied, taking a deep breath. Even with Ethan, she played us both. They deserve each other. George reached for my hand, offering comfort. What matters is you're away from their drama now. Don't let them pull you back in. I nodded, trying to force a smile. Talking with Dad reminded me that the past wasn't forgotten. Claire and Ethan's visit wasn't just casual. It hinted at more trouble ahead. That night, I couldn't sleep. Memories of Claire's schemes, how she always seemed better than me in our parents' eyes, how she effortlessly won Ethan over. It all haunted me. Her return meant trouble, and I felt a growing sense of dread. But amid the chaos in my mind, I started to feel determined. I wouldn't be a victim again. I'd confront Claire and Ethan. Whatever they were planning, I was ready to fight back. In the days after Claire and Ethan's visit, their words and smirks kept replaying in my mind. I threw myself into work, hoping to distract myself, but the past wouldn't let go. Remembering my marriage to Ethan, once filled with love, now felt like walking on thorns. It all started wonderfully. Ethan was charming, attentive, everything I thought I wanted. We were happy, or so I thought. But then things changed. Late nights, excuses, and avoiding my questions. I trusted him, ignoring my doubts and gut feelings. Then, one day, everything became clear. I came home early from a trip, excited to surprise Ethan. But I was the one surprised. I found Ethan and Claire together, laughing in our living room. It was a moment that shattered my world. The confrontation was a blur of tears, accusations, and painful truths. Claire showed no remorse, simply shrugging off my pain. You were always too focused on work, Anna. Ethan needed someone, and I was there. It's not our fault he lost interest in you. Ethan's words were just as hurtful. I thought I loved you, Anna, but Claire is different, more exciting. We were never right for each other. Their betrayal cut me deeply, shattering my heart and trust. The divorce was swift, with Ethan and Claire flaunting their relationship. I was left to piece together my shattered life, feeling foolish and betrayed. Sitting in my office, memories swirled, igniting anger within me. How dare they come back after what they did? How dare they disrupt my peace? But it wasn't just anger. It was a burning need for justice. I wanted them to feel a fraction of the pain they caused. Revenge, once repulsive, now seemed like the only way to close this chapter. I've decided. I'll confront them, demand answers, but I won't be the heartbroken wife this time. I'll be strong. They underestimated me once. They won't again. I dialed Ethan's number, my voice steady, my resolve unshakable. Ethan, we need to talk. Meet me at the cafe on 5th Street tomorrow at noon. His surprise stammer was a small victory. Sure, Anna. Tomorrow, he replied before the call ended. For the first time in days, I felt in control. The game had begun, and this time I was playing to win. The next day, the cafe was bustling. I spotted Ethan at a corner table, looking tense. His attempted smile didn't reach his eyes. Anna, thanks for coming. I wasn't sure you want to see me, he said, sounding unsure. I don't, I replied sharply, sitting across from him. But I need answers. Why are you and Claire back in my life? Ethan squirmed. Things haven't been great for us after we left. We've had some tough times. I felt a bitter satisfaction seeing him uneasy. Tough times? You expect sympathy from me? No, of course not, he stammered. It's just that Claire is pregnant. We thought it's time to mend fences, for the sake of family. His words hit me hard. Claire pregnant? I felt a twinge of hurt, but skepticism took over. And you expect me to? What? Forgive you just like that? I asked, my voice filled with disbelief. It's not just that, Anna, Ethan said, avoiding my gaze. There's the matter of your father's estate. So that was it, the real reason behind their sudden return. It wasn't remorse or reconciliation. It was greed. You have some nerve, Ethan. You cheat, you leave, and now you come back for money. I felt my anger boiling over, my voice rising in the crowded cafe. People can change, Anna. We've been through a lot. We just want a chance to start over, to be a family, he pleaded. A family built on lies and deceit. I shot back, my heart pounding with anger. Just then, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Claire. We need to talk. Alone. My place. Tonight. I glanced at Ethan, my mind made up. Tell Claire I'll see her tonight. But understand, Ethan, this isn't a family reunion. This is me settling the score. Ethan looked taken aback as I stood to leave. I felt a strange sense of power. I'd been their victim for too long. But now, things were changing. I walked out, leaving Ethan behind, my mind racing. Tonight's meeting with Claire wouldn't just be a talk. It would be the start of my revenge, a chance to reclaim my dignity and make them regret crossing me. Leaving Ethan behind at the cafe left me with a whirlwind of emotions. Anger, betrayal, and a newfound determination. Driving home, my mind buzzed with plans for confronting Claire later. I needed to brace myself against her manipulative ways. As evening approached, I stood in front of my mirror, mentally preparing. I saw a different woman from the one who once fell for Ethan or got overshadowed by Claire. Tonight, I was ready to face my past head-on. Claire's house was a sharp contrast to mine. Flashy, extravagant, a symbol of her and Ethan's shallow values. I knocked on the door, my heart racing but my resolve strong. When Claire opened it, she looked as poised and arrogant as ever. Anna, come in. I'm glad you could make it. Her tone dripped with condescension, as if inviting me in was some kind of favor. Stepping inside, I took in the extravagant decor. So Claire, why am I here? What do you want from me? I asked, cutting to the chase. Claire led me to the living room, her movements graceful yet calculated. I wanted to talk to you, sister to sister. It's been too long, and with the baby coming, I thought it's time we bury the hatchet. I almost laughed at her audacity. Bury the hatchet? After you stole my husband and now come back for my father's inheritance. Claire's expression hardened briefly before she composed herself. Anna, let's be practical. Ethan and I need financial stability for our child. Your father's estate can help with that. Her greed was clear. You expect me to just hand over what's rightfully mine after everything you've done. It's not just about the money, Anna, Claire said, falsely sincere. It's about family. We're still sisters, after all. I stared at her in disbelief. You lost the right to call me sister when you betrayed me. There was a heavy silence between us, tension thick in the air. Then, Claire's mask slipped, revealing her true nature. Fine. If you're going to be selfish, let's talk legalities. Dad's will favors the first grandchild. My baby will secure the inheritance for Ethan and me. Her words hit me hard. This was her plan, to use her pregnancy to manipulate our father's will in her favor. You're unbelievable, Claire. You think you can manipulate everyone to get what you want? Not this time. I won't let you, I said firmly. Claire smirked, her eyes cold and calculating. We'll see, Anna. We'll see how long you can keep up this act, she sneered. I turned to leave, my mind spinning. Driving away, a plan began to form. Claire and Ethan were playing a dangerous game, but now I knew the rules. It was time for them to realize I wasn't just a pawn in their twisted game. The days after my confrontation with Claire were filled with intense preparation for the looming legal battle over my father's estate. I sought out legal advice, determined to safeguard what was rightfully mine and my father's legacy from Claire and Ethan's greed. As I delved into the legal details, shocking news reached me. Ethan's business, once touted with confidence, had collapsed. They were drowning in debt, unable to sustain their lavish lifestyle. This revelation shed light on their sudden return and their desperation for the inheritance. Meeting with my lawyer, Miss Harper, we discussed our strategy. They're financially and legally trapped, she noted, examining the documents. Your sister's claim about the will doesn't hold up legally. We can challenge it. Miss Harper's confidence was reassuring, but I knew Claire and Ethan wouldn't give up easily. They were like cornered animals, unpredictable and dangerous. My resolve was tested sooner than I anticipated. One evening, returning home from work, I found Claire waiting on my doorstep, her expression a mix of defiance and desperation. Anna, we need to talk, she said, her voice shaky. I have nothing to say to you, Claire. This matter is with the lawyers now, I replied, trying to pass by her. She stepped forward, blocking my path. Please, Anna. I'm not pregnant. It was a lie, a plan Ethan and I made to influence Dad's will. Her confession, though shocking, didn't surprise me. It was just another deceit in their long list. So you've been lying all this time. What now, Claire? Ready to give up? I asked coldly. Claire's eyes filled with tears, but they didn't sway me. I don't know what to do. Ethan's business is ruined. We're losing everything. I need your help, Anna. Her plea for help, after all they'd done, was almost laughable. You want my help after everything you've done? You're delusional, I said, pulling away from her. The sister I knew died when you betrayed me. You made your choice, Claire. Live with it. Leaving Claire alone, I entered my house, closing the door on her and our past. It felt liberating. I was free from our toxic relationship. That night, in the quiet of my living room, I realized this was more than an inheritance battle. It was about my liberation, closing the chapter on Claire and Ethan's treachery and moving on. The following weeks were a whirlwind of legal battles. Claire and Ethan's desperation grew as their financial troubles mounted. Despite it all, I remained strong, with Miss Harper's help and my newfound resolve. The day of the court hearing arrived, the atmosphere tense and charged. The courtroom was cold, contrasting sharply with the simmering emotions within. Ethan and Claire sat together, trying to maintain a facade of unity, but their strained appearances betrayed their true feelings. As the proceedings began, Miss Harper skillfully dismantled each of their arguments. Claire's lie about her pregnancy was exposed, further weakening their case. I watched Claire as the reality sank in. The confident, manipulative sister I once knew was gone, replaced by someone consumed by the consequences of her actions. During a recess, Claire approached me, desperation in her eyes. Anna, please. I know I don't deserve your mercy, but we're ruined. We have nothing. Her words, once persuasive, now had no effect on me. You brought this upon yourselves, Claire. You chose greed and deceit, and now you must face the consequences. The final judgment was a clear win for me. The judge ruled in my favor, ensuring that the inheritance rightfully stayed with me. Claire and Ethan left the courtroom defeated, their schemes crumbling. But as I walked out, a sense of closure washed over me. This wasn't just a legal win. It was a personal victory over my past demons. Claire and Ethan's downfall was the justice they deserved. But for me, it marked a new beginning, free from the pain they caused. In the days that followed, I focused on rebuilding my life, leaving behind the shadows of Claire and Ethan. The scar they left would always be a part of me, but it no longer controlled me. I had become stronger, more resilient, and had a better understanding of myself and my values. As I sat in my garden one evening, watching the sunset, I understood that real victory wasn't in revenge or the pain of those who hurt me. It was in the peace and inner strength I discovered, the power to move on and embrace new beginnings.